week's session of Fridays on the Farm. Today we're here at McElhaney Equipment. I want to thank Miss Susanna McElhaney for taking time to meet with us today. We're going to continue our section on getting ready for hay season, and today we're going to talk a little bit about equipment. So Susanna's here to tell us some of the things to keep in mind as you're getting your equipment ready. We're going to go through some tractors, a cutter, a baler, and talk about some of the things you need to keep in mind as you're getting your equipment ready.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's good to talk to you all today. Okay, so Dad helped me come up with a list of things here, starting with tractors. Most people change their oil and filters as recommended. Quite a few people change their oil and filters at the beginning of hay season. They check their air filter, and they also change their hydraulic filter as recommended for their brand. And then they properly dispose of their waste oil. Check your coolant level and quality, and be sure to clean your radiator and fins, and if it's an air-conditioned tractor, clean your condenser. All of those things make the life of those products longer and make your air conditioner cool better. Check your all of your hoses and fittings for your air conditioner system that you can get to for leaks. The oil stains, if there are oil stains on the hoses or fittings, they will indicate leaks. And that may help you to diagnose if your air conditioner system is not working correctly. Because those cabs of those tractors are like an oven when that air conditioner does not work right. Check your hydraulic oil level and quality. If the oil is milky, it should be changed, flushed out, and then refilled. Clean the fuel sediment bowls if your tractor has one. There may be water or debris floating in that bowl. Change your fuel filters, and if it's a diesel, the system will have to be bled of air before it can be restarted. Check your tires for proper pressure and damage. Check your lug nuts and bolts for tightness. Lubricate all grease fittings with a good quality grease. Check and top off brake and clutch fluids with the proper fluids. Now we're at a tractor, and we're going to talk about a few hoses to look at. So if you have a loader on your tractor, there are a whole lot of fittings involved. There's a bank of quick connectors underneath here that if you wanted to take this off, you can pull this connector back and you can pop this fitting out. Well, there are a whole lot of fittings here. You can have a quick look at all of these fittings to make sure that they're not leaking. And then there are a bunch more here on the hydraulic cylinders, and running down behind this piece here, there are some more. And we have some down here in the fuel system and the oil on the tractor. So just check those to be sure that none of them are leaking. On mowers, today we're standing in front of a Kuhn mower. There are many things to be checked, but the number one thing is there is a small wear plate here in between these skids. When that becomes missing or gets rusted and falls off, there can be a hole worn in your cutter bar and oil will leak out. If you don't notice, your cutter bar will be ruined, as it will be run dry of oil. Checking the skids and these wear plates are very important on your mowers. Different brands have different setups. We're standing next to a Vermeer mower over there, and that mower uses grease in individual units. Okay, they have individual units underneath each disc, and they are grease filled, each individual one. So on this one, you have to take your disc off and then lift the unit out to see how much grease you have. The recommendation is halfway up on the horizontal shaft, and use the grease that's recommended by your manufacturer. On this mower, people don't do this more than about once a year because a grease leak would be obvious and you would see it. On the Kuhn mower, there is a checking plug. People check their oil usually several times during the season. But also, you should be mindful of leaks when you raise that mower up to transport it. You will be able to see if there's oil running down. If you see that, then you should take action as soon as you can to get that repaired so that doesn't run your cutter bar out of oil, because that's a very expensive part. Also, check your hydraulic cylinder to be sure that it is not leaking, and check at the hinge point at the gearbox. Most mowers have bushings there. If you catch it when it is not worn so bad, you can just change the bushing. If it has worn until it's gotten into the gearbox housing, then it gets more expensive. Unfortunately, some people have gone long enough, have run their mower long enough that they have worn a hole in the gearbox bushing and the oil starts to leak out of the gearbox. If they continue on, then they will have a gearbox with no oil and seized up gears and bearings, and that gets expensive. Also, on all equipment that has a drive line on it, be sure to grease your drive line so that the two tubes slide freely in and out. The problem is that when it is seized up or gummed up and the shafts won't slide in and out, it will push your bearing on the implement out, or it may push your tractor PTO shaft in or cause damage to its bearing. So while it's not a very glamorous job, it's a very important one. If you can't pull them apart, then it could be that the two metals are galded together and the metal tubes have to be replaced. Or if it is hard to get apart and it has a gummy type texture to it, you can wash them off, the two tubes off, with diesel fuel, and then wipe it off and then apply a new coating of grease. But that will definitely save you some money on tractor repairs and on repairs for your implement as well. Check your fasteners for tightness. No one wants to lose a blade in the middle of the field, and then if they don't have any spares in their toolbox, they have to go all the way back and get another one. That's never fun. Okay, we're standing in front of an older model baler here to look at a few things. And first of all, these sprockets are starting to hook. The teeth are starting to hook. When they do that, it is getting ready for the chain to catch and pull and then get these teeth shelled off here. So you might want to consider changing this sprocket before you get into doing your hay so you don't have a breakdown. As you can see, this person oiled their chains very well. Of course, there is a chain luber on this baler, so that's probably why. So these chains, you want to check the tightness of them, and then when you have adjusted them several times, you may want to consider pulling them off and looking to see if they're wore out. The way we check to see if they're wore out is we take them off and we lay them on the floor, just like they would be on the baler. And if the sideways twist of the chain, if it twists very much, then it's worn out. What my dad always said is if it looks like a railroad track laying there and you can twist it like this, it's wore out. Then you can replace it, and it's always good to replace the chain when you are replacing sprockets on that same chain. And then we can look here at the bearings. What we do on our winter checkup is we remove all chains and the belts, and we spin each roller individually. If you hear a rumbly roller or you have one that will not turn, then you have a bad bearing. If you want to check your rollers during hay season, you can use an infrared heat gun, and if you have some of higher temperature, those will be your ones with bearings that are bad. If you don't have an infrared heat gun, you can use a spray bottle with water in it. If you spray your water on the baler with the baler running, if you spray your water on a bearing that sizzles, then that might be a bad bearing. So that's one to give a good checking out. Also, when you're checking your chains and sprockets, don't forget to check your idler sprockets, because they're important too, especially for the wear of your chain. On balers that have cam bearings and other bearings on your pickup, check them to be sure that the bearings are still in there. This baler has a small inspection plate down here on the pickup, what you do is you run your baler at a low RPM and you stand back and look, and the little bearings will pass by the window one at a time. If you have 5 bearings on there, then you have them all. With a combination of cam bearings missing and bad pickup teeth, it makes it very hard for a person to start a bale. And we don't need any more frustration when we're out there hot and trying to get our hay baled. Also check for missing or broken pickup teeth. We can leave a lot of hay in the field having broken teeth or missing teeth. So it's always important to start out with your teeth being in good condition. Also check the height of your pickup. If you change to a different tractor, the drawbar height might be different. You don't want your pickup teeth digging in the ground, as it will shorten the life of them. But you do want it low enough that you can pick up hay. So those are just a few things to be checked. Also check the oil in the gearbox to make sure you have plenty. And check the wheel bearings to be sure that you won't have a wheel run off and a wheel bearing out on the road or anywhere else, because it would definitely be inconvenient. And then have a look at your hydraulic hoses to see if you have any leaks. It's always a good time to walk around and check it out. The belt balers have either cable or a corrugated pin attaching the 2 ends of the belting. These things should be replaced every 500 hours. And the reason is that they are hard to get out whenever they start to break up. And sometimes the belt has to be cut to get them out. And that gets rather expensive. So if you keep them changed out, then either the cable or the pin will not break apart, so you can easily get it out. That prolongs the life of your belts for your baler. So that is always good.
So the next thing to keep in mind, we appreciate Susanna going through equipment for us and telling us a little bit about what to be checking on your own equipment. But as hay season gets here, everybody's going to be busy. You're going to be in the field, and no matter how good a job we do checking over our equipment, Susanna, as you know, things happen. And we're going to be in a bind. You're going to have to call your parts manager, whichever company you use. Susanna, what are some things that producers can do to make it easier to get the parts they need when they need them?
It's always good to know your model number, and sometimes you need to know your serial number. And then also it's good to take a picture of the old part that you need, or to bring the old part with you. We always get ladies coming for their husbands to get parts, which is wonderful. They're doing errands for them. They're taking care of something while they can do something else. That's awesome. But please, either call me ahead, call your parts person ahead, or send a picture or the old part, because the poor lady is very frazzled when she gets here and you don't know what it is that she needs. So please, take a picture, send with her, or send the old part, or call, and we'll have your parts ready to be picked up when you get here. Or if you're coming yourself, just bring the picture or the old part with you. That's always good. So thank you.
We want to thank everybody for taking time to join us for today's session of Fridays on the Farm. For more information, Susanna's actually put together her own checklist of things to keep in mind for your equipment this year, and that's going to be attached to our Constant Contact newsletter that goes out through email. So if you aren't on that list, let us know and we can definitely get you added. And make sure you have a relationship with your parts department at whichever tractor dealership you work with so that you can get things done when you need to. Thanks for joining us for this week's session of Fridays on the Farm. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about getting ready for hay equipment and some of the things to keep in mind for your pastures. We'll see you next Friday.